Hello everybody, it's Emma Langton here. It's Thursday afternoon. The sun's shining, it's absolutely gorgeous. And I was just inspired to pop on and just have a quick chat with you about why I do what I do. Because you may not know, and I may have forgotten to tell you. Because I kind of get so caught up in the way that I can help everybody else, that sometimes people want to know about how I can help you, and why it is that I do what I do, and want to know a little bit more about me as well. So I've just joined another group just about 10 days ago on Facebook, and they were talking. I kind of popped on and did a little introduction to me to say hello to the people that are on there as well. But they've been talking this week about why they do what they do. So I just went on there to say hello to them and give them an explanation. And it occurred to me that maybe I haven't explained that here either. I know I have got it on my website, and there is a podcast and even a blog on my website that talks a bit more about me, about my very personal story, and the information about why I do what I do. But you may not have picked up on that, because there are a lot more people, I think, on my Facebook group here than there are maybe that pop over to my website. I'm not sure, or there's certainly different people. So as you're already in my Facebook page, you know who I am. So I'm Emma Langton. I live and work in York. I am a hypnotherapist and coach. And wellness and overall well-being is my absolute passion. I predominantly help people with stress and anxiety, some fears and phobias as well, but predominantly with a kind of stress and anxiety. And I work with an awful lot of people, men and women, often in professional backgrounds, who have struggled with kind of stress and anxiety in their lives. And whether that's with situations at home or situations at work, the two kind of tend to come together and have, when we've got stress or anxiety in our lives, it does kind of have a blanket effect across all areas. And so I work quite differently. So I help you understand exactly what is going on with you, why we function like we function, what it is that happens with that stress and anxiety. There's a lot of automatic body functions that happen. And when I find that when I explain that to people, they kind of go, oh, right, so it's kind of not just me then. And it's not because I'm not good enough, or it's not because I can't manage it. And a lot of the time, no, it's absolutely not. So I'm very big on explaining the kind of why, and I'm also very big on finding things that are really personal for people that absolutely work for you. You may have heard me mention before about, I've got a friend that when she kind of gets stressed and that, she goes for a run. And you're most likely to find me running a bath. I'm absolutely not going to go for a run. That's kind of not my style, and I do fitness, but I'm not a runner. So I'm very clear on making sure that I find out what it is that works for you, because there's no point. There'd be no point telling me to go for a run, because I'd be just sulking in a corner and saying I'm not doing that. And then the work's not going to be effective, is it? So we find things that really, really work for you. And then when we do that, when we reduce that stress and anxiety, get rid of it completely, sometimes we get rid of the fear. Often you have the understanding about what goes on in your mind, what goes on in your body, and then we find things that work for you that are really, really personal. Then you can feel really empowered, you can feel in control, you can feel like you can cope with these really, really, really busy lives. Yeah? Why? Why do I bother doing that? Well, because I went from a corporate world of 20 odd years where I worked in big business, and I was busy running directors' offices, general managers, senior managers' offices. I was running those offices for years, and I was on it, and I was efficient, and I knew about this and that, and I could talk to staff, and I could persuade, and we went through changes and transformation, and it was fine. Okay, and I loved it, and I got a buzz from it. Okay, and then about 10 years ago, I adopted 2 children. I do talk about that a little bit, but I adopted 2 children. And I thought that in that plan that these 2 little children were going to come along, aged 4 and 5.5. And, we were going to take time. I took time off for them to settle into our lives. And I was going to go back to work part-time, and it was all fitting in part of a plan. Right. And anybody that's got a family is probably laughing their socks off by now, thinking, what a silly mare she is. Right. So it didn't work out in that lovely plan. You can't write a business plan about having kids, can you? And my poor little babes have so many more issues than we ever knew, than we were ever told about. And one of them has really exceptional special needs, quite a long list of special needs. So they didn't even go to school. So things weren't straightforward. And so when I then had to go back to work after 2 years, back to work part-time, but I still really couldn't quite manage that because these poor little kids weren't managing to go to school every day. So I left that job. But I did think, well, what am I going to do? I feel like I've always worked, it's part of me, it's part of my identity, and these children will hopefully go to school at some point, or for some little big spaces of time. So I had already begun learning about the psychology and about attachment and trauma and on why these kids respond like they do and what it is that's happened to them, what's happened to the wiring of their brain and their responses. And it just made perfect sense. I was like, oh, wow. Oh, and that's because of that. Oh, and that's because of that. And I just got it. I just got it. Right, light bulb moments coming on, and I loved it, and I wanted to know so much more. So I did. I carried on learning and training and finding out so much more in the pockets of time that I could do that while the kids were little and whether they were in school or not in school. But I also recognise about how children can turn your life upside down. I was also dealing with schools, dealing with social workers, dealing with other therapists and all these other professionals who were not giving me the explanations about why they were doing what they were doing. And I was getting that from elsewhere. I was going down to London mostly and paying for it myself. So I really wanted to be able to then help other people to have that understanding, to have that kind of why they do what they do. Now, I knew it wasn't going to be really, really sensible and practical for me to live at home with a couple of troubled children and then maybe go and work with some troubled children, because that's just all consuming too much stuff. So I focused on the hypnotherapy side of things, and I started on with hypnotherapy and worked with the anxiety, fears and phobias. I set up my business that way over 5.5 years ago. But even though I do that, I still give everybody that comes to me, I still give you all the why. And the amount of people that say that it is so helpful for them. So I carry on doing the why with that. And that's why I set up my Facebook page that you're finding me on now. And that's why I put out lots of information and lots of tips about how to feel happier, how to be less stressful, how to feel more comfortable. What are these good little things, these tiny little pockets of things that you can put in your life. So that's my why, because I'm so damn nosy, actually. And because I was a bit frustrated about not knowing why it was that was going on with our kids. And obviously it did help me with the tremendous amount of pressure that I had about living with a couple of tricky kids with special needs, with high-end needs, and trying to negotiate systems and processes and things like that as well. And I also then brought in that understanding that I have of where you are in a busy office or a busy work environment, in a corporate environment, or in the private sector. I have that understanding, and wellness is a big thing these days. There's a lot of companies, stress affects pretty much nearly everybody. Is it just work pressure? Is it about a lack of work-life balance? Is it stress? Companies want to know about it. Individuals want to know about it. You don't need to live like that. I have created a balance in running my business, running the home, helping my children, being a mum, a therapist, social worker, an advocate for them, and use all the fabulous tools and techniques that I've got to keep things on a reasonably even keel. I'm not Superwoman by any stretch of the imagination, and sometimes I do just down tools and go, right, I need to do this, which is you know, sit in the sun in the summer, or, you know, go off and have that bath, or whatever it is. But it's about knowing that you can have it in your life, how you can have it in your life, accepting the tools and techniques that you can do, how you can let go of things. And I'm really keen on sharing that information. So if that appeals to you, you've got my why, you've got a little bit more about me, do get in touch with me, ask me questions. I also know that not a lot of people kind of want to put information about themselves on this Facebook page. And so I am actually going to be setting up a group page. And that group page will mean that it's private, or secret, or whatever the right terminology is. But what it means is that you can be part of that group, and you can comfortably comment, share your information, share your feelings, share what works, share what doesn't work, share whatever has been shitty in your day. You can do that within that group. Because then the information that you put on there in the comments and the way that you share things, it doesn't then go out to all the other friends that you have on Facebook. It doesn't show up in your timeline. So I am going to be doing that group because I want to create something that's a little bit more interactive for you, so that you can get a bit more interactive. You can get a bit more information about me, because I just kind of love talking about this. You could tell by the way I'm talking about it now. And I can waffle forever about it, really. So you just need to tell me if I'm boring you as well. But I'm going to be creating that group. But, you know, if you want one-to-one work with me, get in touch. It's not all face-to-face, even though I am in York. I, you know, do work by Skype and other, you know, FaceTime and whatever other modalities as well. I can do face-to-face appointments as well in my lovely therapy room in Acomb area of York. And I have got lots of lovely clients that are just finishing up right now. So then there are a couple of spaces coming up in my diary. So if you want to talk to me, now that you understand my why, now that you understand what you're going to get, a little bit more about what you're going to get from me, drop me a message and keep popping back here, or even drop me a message if you're interested in joining my group as well, to be able to get a little bit more interactive without all your friends and family knowing about it. Okay, so keep in touch with me, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.